Well, I am so glad to be back, and God is the same God in Life Church North and in Life Church North, and in Life Church Lymm and in Life Church West even, and here. But man, there's just something about being where you belong, that just feels right. And so it's good to be back, and it's good to be home. So I'm going to read some passages. We are finishing our series on our kind of mission statement for the next few years. So, a family on a mission to bring the life of Jesus to Warrington. That is, you'll hear that probably too many times. But that was probably me. I unscrewed something. Sorry, Isaac. Sorry, that's my bad. You might have pressed something on the desk and I've let you off there. And so we're going to hear that a lot, but that's going to be where we're going. And so my job is to kind of just share with mission. The poor old Owens family heard some of this. They came to North, and it'll be slightly different, the Owens family, because I'm going to tell a story that I wouldn't dare tell in front of the Jewists. So that's right. That's right. You get away with it at home team. And so be loyal. All right, guys, just stick with me. Don't tell them. So yeah, you've talked about. Yeah, but she's a good Jewess. She's fine. Don't you worry about that. She'll enjoy the story. She knows the story. She's fine. He'll just tell me it's not church appropriate. And so, it's Latchford appropriate, though. And so, so Matthew 22, let's get into the Bible. And so, we're talking about mission. So Nick came last week to talk about the life of Jesus. We watched a video, bizarrely, with Mike Pilavacci about family, what it means to be family, what it means to kind of bring the life of Jesus, and now we're going to look at mission. It's called Mission, What's the Point? So slightly aggressive title. But as a teenage lad, when you're a kid, you ask why all the time. Why? Then when you get older, you have that why, but it's a more aggressive why. It's like, what's the point? Which is just why, but a bit cooler. And so we're going to be like, what is the point? And so hopefully we'll see there is a point. And so you might not feel it at the end, but we'll get there. So Matthew 22, verses 1 to 14. So we're going to read this. And so Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who'd been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, 'Tell those who've been invited that I've prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered and everything's ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited didn't deserve to come. So go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find.' So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed there was a man there not wearing wedding clothes. He asked, 'How did you get in here without wedding clothes, friend?' The man was speechless. Then the king told the attendants, 'Tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen.'" And so, not the easiest passage in the world. Jesus doesn't stick with easy stuff. Sometimes I think I've said it here, but I did a little thing about things I wish Jesus hadn't said. Not because I think it was wrong, but just because it's so challenging, and just because I'm like, flip, Jesus, can you just give us easier stuff? And obviously Jesus knows better. And so we read that and we think, man, there's some difficult stuff in there. But I'm going to start with this invitation to a party that it is. So I want you to think about the fanciest party you've ever been invited to, or the fanciest thing you've ever been at. Okay? You don't have to shout out, but the fanciest thing you've ever been. Some of you belong in fancy places. Some of us grew up in Grimsby, and we don't belong in fancy places. We're not welcome there. And so I got invited, 14 years ago, 13 years ago, to a party. That is St. George's Hall in Liverpool. That's a big fancy thing inside. It was all decked out, and it was a black tie affair. And when it's black tie, it's not going to be fun. That's right, isn't it, Charlie and Lewis? And so I said, Charlie, what? So I know they had a black tie wedding. I had to buy a tux specifically for it. Resentment. And so, when you go into this thing, I was like, well, I don't have a tux, so I have to hire a tux to go to this thing. And it was because with work, we'd raised some money for charity, And so as I was on the charity team, I had to go. And I was like, I don't want to go. It'll be a business thing. There'll be loads of people networking. I don't want to network with people. I want to be at home eating pizza. And so that is the life, right? And I was like, and they're like, no, you must come. So I hired a tux. Got all this, there was a diamond auction going to be there. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to bid for diamonds. That's what I do in my spare. What did you do Tuesday? Bid for diamonds. Did you win any, Del? No. Like, who wants diamonds? And so, some women probably. And so anyway, so I was there, and I was just thinking, right, got to go, got to look smart. And I was at work in the day, so I rushed home, and I thought, right, quickly, go home, get a shower, get changed, go to this fancy thing, hate it, come home. That's the plan. What a Tuesday. And so I was there, got home, had a shower, thought, right, here we go, looked around, did a number 2. Let's just go where we are. And so here we are. And so I'm there, and obviously there's no paper in the bathroom. And I was like, right, okay. Problem. Not a problem none of us have faced before in our life. What are you going to do? So I was like, I could just get back in the shower and just rinse through. I thought, that is not acceptable, is it? It's not an acceptable course of action. I was in a shared home with another 4 or 5 housemates. I thought, that is disgusting. Don't let that thought come in your mind. But park it up in case you're desperate. And so I looked around. I thought, there's about 3, 4 women who live in this house. They will have face wipes. Women have things like this. So I was digging around, opened up some cupboards. I was, there you go, there's some wipes. That is going to do me. Halfway through, one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And I was like, what is going on down there? Oh, these are floor wipes with extra bleach. Oh, I'm bleaching down there now. Oh, now I'm in a bad place. But, I've already started. I am in. I've committed. I think, well, I can't now rinse. It's just going to, I'll just get it done. I'm just getting it. And I was just horrific. And it was just things were going down there that I don't want to imagine. And I was just like, well, and so that happened. And so then I get into this tux at this party that I don't belong at. And I'm turning up and I can't sit down. I'm just stood like this the whole time. Everyone's like, you all right, Del? Yeah, I'm just chilling. I just stood. Why you stood like that, Del? I don't want to talk about this right now. And so they were like, okay, that's weird. So we got to this table and I had to sit at this table. So I was like, obviously lowering down like, oh, just get in there and just, And then the guy next to me had been a previous client of I was at a big audit firm where we'd kind of had gone, we had to check their accounts and everyone thought we were looking to get them fired. And we were not. I didn't want to find mistakes. I just wanted to go home. And so I'd be like, we'd check their accounts, and if there were mistakes, we'd have to correct them. And everybody's scared of their auditors. And so everybody hates them thinking we're going to get them fired. So I went and sat down and I was like, oh, it's a very difficult client. This is going to be fun. And I was like, oh, I did not enjoy being with you. And he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. How are you doing? He said, I lost my job after your audit. Oh, hello. I am in pain in many ways, son. This is not a party. It's not a party anyway because it's a party with accountants. And so it's a party with accountants with a bleached up man with a paid for suit with a guy who'd got fired. I did not want to be there. I did not belong there. And so that is the story that Lucas is not thinking is church appropriate, but it happened. And so I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel I don't belong in a lot of places, particularly nice places. And we are seeing an invite to a party that Jesus is talking about, and there's this great verse in there where it says, they invited everybody, the bad and the good. And you think, yeah, but you can't be. What about you can't bring in the bad people, you got to bring in just the good people. And I was listening to some uni students in my job this week, and they were presenting on their placement year at work. And one of them said, they felt a bit like their sister was like a psychologist or something, and said, felt like they had imposter syndrome, that they just didn't belong in this kind of real professional workplace, and they were just trying to blag it and fake it. And I just thought, yeah, that's just so much like so many of us maybe feel in life. And even when people talk about knowing God and being close to God, I think, man, I don't even know what that means. So maybe I'll just fake it. Maybe I'll get close. Maybe I don't belong. And, and I know what it is to kind of feel like I'm just sort of out of the loop in different situations, whether it's posh, fancy, black tie situations, whether it's kind of churchy situations or professional situations, or just being a flipping grown-up. I just feel out of the loop so often that I am just trying to blag life and don't feel like I belong. And some of us can feel so much like that. So we're talking about mission, and even that concept how can I be somebody on mission when I don't even sure if I belong in this kind of thing. And I used to always think about in that story that Jesus was telling, that it's about heaven. And it is about heaven. He is talking about inviting people into this relationship with God, that one day we would spend, as Rich said earlier, that we're going to spend eternity with him. You know, but that's not default. It's not just like, oh, if you're born, eventually you're going to spend eternity with God. You know, that happens when we turn over our lives, when we say, God, all this mess, all this sin, all this rubbish that I've got, will you forgive me? And will you just change my life and give me a new life and a new hope? When we do that, we cross into this place where we have this relationship with him. We cross into this place where we can be with him forever. And as a kid, I just thought that was the whole deal, that all I need to do is tell people about this. And I just remember thinking, like, right, fine, I'll tell people about Jesus, and I'll tell people that they need to be forgiven and know him, and that's good, because that's how you get to heaven. And I remember thinking, what do we do now? Do I just be good? Like, is that it? So I'm just good now, right? Is that what I'm doing? I'm telling people and I'm trying to be good. And the problem I found with that is I'm not good enough to be good. You know, it was just like, well, what do I do? Because it just feels like I'm just inviting people. And it was years later that I realized that actually being on mission is not just about saying maybe one day you'll get to heaven. Being on mission is saying to people, hey, your lives can change right now. Like where you are now, there is a God who's interested in where you are, is interested in your brokenness, he's interested in your situations, and he wants to bring healing. Like Adrian was sharing today, like Sophie's song taught us today, and I think we need to ban Sophie Bowles from writing songs, because flip, I cannot emotionally cope with Sophie Bowles writing songs. She started, I was like, I'm gone. I'm not even in a bad place, Sophie. I'm just crying like a child. What's going on? And so, but the thing is, it's a God who's interested in our lives now. And being in mission, when we're talking to the people who don't know him, it's not just about, oh, well, maybe one day. It's like, no. The stuff that you're carrying, the stuff that you go through, there's a God who cares. There's a God who's interested. There's a God who wants to change that. So God who wants to transform that now. And he wants to bring a hope. And that is what I started to kind of realize. And we want to be a church that bring the life of Jesus to Warrington now. Not just that one day that they will find it's worth it, but actually that things would change now. And some weeks ago, I sort of shared on this a little bit a while ago, some weeks ago. There's a point, I haven't just got my wallet out to check something. And so I shared a few weeks ago, and I didn't really explain it very well, as Chris Lowry told me, so I'm going to explain it again. I get a redo because I'm home. And so we have these cards that I gave out, and we have many more cards ready. These cards that I kept in my wallet, and some other people have kept them, called non-official cover things. And it was based on Mission Impossible, as all good references should be from like the 90s. And the whole thing is that Tom Cruise is trying to cover this thing called the knock list, which we talked about maybe 6 weeks ago. And there were non-official cover people who worked for effectively the CIA, but they didn't work for the CIA. They worked as people who worked in shops. They worked in businesses. They worked in ordinary places, paid by ordinary places, but they were there for a higher reason. They were undercover in their workplaces, but really they had a bigger purpose. And the point of these things that we carried around, and it reminds me every day that I'm in Liverpool when I get my wallet out to pay for stuff, is it says non-official cover, a higher calling in ordinary places. And the reminder was that I might be paid by the University of Liverpool. I might work for the University of Liverpool, but I do not belong to the University of Liverpool. I am not just there on their business. I am going to work hard for them. Do you know, I am there for a bigger purpose. I am there because God has called us on a mission to bring his life to those around us. And, you know, every time I go out, and we have a Starbucks in the uni, so I spend too much money at the Starbucks. But I'm not married yet, so we don't have to worry about budgets at the moment. And so every time I go to pay for my Starbucks, I get that out, and it just reminds me, man, these students who are going to see you today, they need to know that there's a guy on a mission. They need to know that there's a guy who has the love of Jesus in him, and it's going to be different. And it's just a reminder. And so if you haven't got one of those cards, or if you took one, didn't understand it, or if you just took one and threw it away, we're going to give you another one today, because we get to go back, and Rachel's going to give those out later. And so part of being on mission is living out our life in the world that we're in. And I had a question that I wrote down, and it's really difficult, like for me personally, to answer, because it's like Jesus invites us to this life now. Like in John 10, Jesus talks that we would have life in all its fullness. And he says that the thief, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. The thief comes to invite you to other things. It's like being invited to that party that we've seen in Matthew 22 is not just one day you're invited to heaven. It's Jesus when he invites the disciples saying, hey guys, come follow me. He invites us into that life now. But we will be invited into all other kinds of stuff. We will be invited into a million other distractions that will come and take our time. And I just kind of thought today, and I was like, how would I choose to live my life if I could bang the reset button and be free from all responsibilities and just say, right, I want to design my life based on what matters to me. Like, I'm not talking about having a golden palace. I'm saying, right, if I didn't need loads of money to do all this stuff, but I just wanted to spend my time doing the stuff that matters, what would my life look like? And how close is that to my life now? Because, yeah, we're going to need to get jobs to do things. I understand that. But is my life miles away from if I banged reset and didn't have any responsibilities? If my life that would look like that is so different to my life now, well, I need to change stuff because I need to get closer to that. I need to be thinking, right, God, what life are you calling me to live, regardless of what I need to do? Because actually, I still need to fit that around me. Like, I went to Mozambique away from all of the responsibilities of doing church finances and doing kind of youth work and mentoring teenage lads and what else? Something else I did. Teaching business at colleges and unis. That's what I did in England. So I went there, pressed reset in Mozambique. What did God put me doing? Put me teaching business into a university in Mozambique. He put me helping the finances with a flipping charity. And he put me mentoring teenage boys. And so actually it made me just think, man, maybe these are okay things for me to do. Maybe these are good things that God wants me to turn my attention to and turn my time to. And so I just challenge you to think what really matters to you in life, and is that reflected in what you do with your time? If people saw your life and just watched it, would they know that's what matters to them? Or would they just be like, man, that person works hard. That person's got a load of responsibilities. But would they know what really matters? And would that be the same? The second kind of thing that really challenges me about this whole thing on mission, I'll fly through these pretty quick, I think now. Mark 14, verses 1 to 3. There's a verse in here, it's one of my favorite verses. I went and shared it when I preached in my home back in Grimsby. I preached there last year, and I used this verse, and it's just a verse that comes at me again and again. And in 14, 1 to 3, it says, the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and teachers of the law trying to kill Jesus. But not during the festival, he said, or the people may riot. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came with a jar of expensive perfume, of pure nard, broke it, and poured perfume on his head. And then the story goes on to people saying, oh, it's such a waste, it's such a waste. And that is the bit, I've grown up in church for 36 years. I'm a church boy. I've heard that story hundreds of times. And it's always about the woman and the waste. And when I was 21, 22, I heard a guy preaching it, and he read that whole story. He said, I'm just preaching on one verse from it. And, you kind of, as you do, you just try and guess. I wonder what verse it's going to be. And he went for a verse, and it was that verse in verse 2, and he just says, while he was in Bethany at the home of Simon the leper. And he just stopped there, and he said, that's it. He said, I'm not very bothered about the rest of it. And he said, because ultimately, he said, Jesus had a week left. This is his final week. Jesus could have been proper tactical, going, right, I need to get my message out to the most people. I'm going to go to the leaders. I'm going to go in the temple courts and all this kind of stuff. And he would have done all those things. But you know what he did? He goes to a house where nobody else would go, and he sits in somebody else's world. He doesn't just say, hey guys, come and hear me at the temple. I'm speaking on Saturday. He spends his time in somebody's house with people that were outcasts, and he puts himself in someone else's world. And I just thought, man, Adam Deller, how often do you put yourself in someone else's world? And I stood up here probably 4, 5, 6 weeks ago and said, if we ain't got time to love the people around us, and by loving them, actually caring about what's in their life, then our mission is just pointless. It's worthless. What are we doing? If we ain't got time to love the people who aren't in here, then that's not the mission we want. That thing does not say Life Church is on a mission to bring admin to Warrington. And you know what? Some days my weeks feel like I'm just bringing admin to Warrington. And if that means I need to quit some meetings to actually sit with people who are not in this room and hear about their lives, well, I need to quit some meetings. And I said this last week, and Lucas was in there, and he went, yeah. And I was thinking, great, I'm going to quit some meetings, Lucas. You're going to regret that. You're going to regret that, amen. And we don't want to be. We don't want to be in meetings. I don't want to just see church people all week. Church people are great, but there's a whole world out there that need to know this life of Jesus. And they need that, and we need to have time. And we talk about loving people a lot, but you can't love them if you're not in their world and hearing their stories and hearing what matters to them. Otherwise, they're just something that you think you should do. I was talking, we have 2 people from Grimsby up here, and they are nervous about many things that I know about him. And I told Mark I wasn't going to share a story about him because I shared about him stalling his car 8 times in the middle of a road and being stuck. I've done that one before. I had a picture and everything. I mocked up his car on the junction. It was very exciting. We used Photoshop. So I'm not going to tell about Mark's stories. But me and Matt, we were speaking to a guy and trying to introduce him to church, maybe when I was 17 or 18 maybe, and so Matt was like 22 because he's old. And so we were in this pub, and we were just like, this girl, she was dating a guy, and he was not great. And we were just like, let's just tell him about church, and that's all this kind of stuff. So we're chatting away, and we're in this pub, and he's chatting to these guys at the other side of the pub, and I was like, these are not good guys. These are not guys that you should be chatting to. I knew them from my school. My school was the Wild West. And I was like, oh, man, don't hang out with those guys. They are bad news. And then all of a sudden, we're watching it, and this pint glass just flies across the bar and hits him. And we're like, oh, no, it's getting real. I'm like, do we jump in? I don't even know this guy. We're about to get beat up for this guy. And he's maybe not a good guy himself. So we were jumping in, just kind of trying to separate it all. Everyone gets thrown out of the pub. So we're out of the pub in the street, and I'm in the middle of this thing, and this guy's kind of shouting off, and he was quite hard, but he had very curly hair, which is not normal for a gangster. And a white man with curly hair is not often a gangster look. But he was there. That's what I said to Matt this week. I was like, remember Jason? He's like, curly hair Jason. I mean, that's not a hard look, is it? And so I was in the middle, and these guys were like, Della, what are you doing with this guy? And I was like, I don't really know him. What's going on? He's like, he's dealing on our patch. I was like, okay. So we're telling him about Jesus, and in the middle we're in a drug deal war. We're like, oh, this is not how we wanted it to go. So I'm stood there, and then he pulls a gun. We're like, oh, hello, let's go home. It's just like not with you, Jason. Although we will do what you say, sir, because you have a gun now. And so it all kind of kicks off and it disperses. And we're like, what do? We go home? We're like, well, we're going to go follow Jason. And I was shaking and terrified. Somebody here, Matt, was just very excited about having a gun. Can I hold your gun, please? Don't do that, Matt. That's not encouraging him. We're trying to tell him about Jesus, not holding his gun. That's not what we're here for. Matt, he's going to get himself in all kinds of trouble, wearing a bandana and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, when you put yourself in the world with other people, it can be messy. Now, you don't have to stay in that world. I'm not saying, well, I'm loving these people, so that means I need to join their drug dealing gang. You do not need to. You are released from that as permission. But Jesus knew what it was to go into other people's world all the time. When he calms the storm in one of his stories, the whole reason he's in a boat going to this place is he's going to visit this one guy who's in some tombs on his own. The whole kind of town has just hid from and isolated and said, this guy's demon-possessed, he's dangerous, we don't want him near us. And they've isolated him. And Jesus calms this storm, and they're all dying. And what we don't realize is the whole point is he was going for this one guy. And he prays for this one guy, sets this one guy free, and this one guy rejoins the kind of community. And he went there for one person, just because that's what Jesus does. He goes through Samaria to meet the woman at the well, because he knows what he's doing. He knows he's going to meet just one person, and that's going to change everything. And he knows what it is to put people into those worlds. I was sat with a young person in this school. We do the Christian Union here. And she had a thing on her phone. She was like, isn't this deep, Del? She had like a background thing on her phone. And it said, the words that it said was like, she was drowning, but no one heard her struggle. And I was like, oh man, that is not deep. That is just heartbreaking. I was like, this kid, who is a great kid, she is like 13, 14, and she's just so much fun. She is great to have around. And we saw her, and I thought, man, if she feels that about herself, she needs to know differently. She's not going to go differently from just us inviting her into something every now and then. She's going to know differently from people who will turn up in her life over and over again and tell her that she matters and tell her there's a God who cares. And we can't do it just once and go, right, see you later. We do it again and again by showing people that they matter. Final couple of things going to blitz through. It's not a solo mission. Like Jesus always went with a team. He was with team all the time. And we're a family on a mission. None of us are called to just be a lone ranger, go off, do your own thing, and we'll see you on Sunday. We need people around us. You've got to do it with team. And we are a weird team. I'm not going to lie to you. Church is strange. Just to emphasize this, we have some memes, of course, because it's the best way of emphasizing church. So I do the youth work here, and I'll be like, is anybody listening? And I'm about to make my point, and then someone will make a dinosaur. It's not always you, Josh, is it? But often, it's not Josh, I feel that harsh, but I did threaten to gaffer tape Josh to a wall once when I was preaching. And so it was like, I will gaffer tape you to a wall, son. I was like, oh dear, I'm not sure a youth pastor should say that. Sometimes youth pastors say things they regret. And so, yeah, that happens in church. This very much happens in church. You're leading a small group. Some of you are in small groups. You know this. Right, anybody got any thoughts? just dead faces. People are looking down. People are like, don't you catch my eye. I'm not speaking. And then you think, well, I'm going to preach at you for half an hour then. And that's on you. All of you are to blame for this. And so that happens. This happens a lot of Fridays. When the new game in youth, I set them on a car scavenger hunt last week where they had to go all across Warrington to do varying tasks like go find a stranger, ask if you can, who's bowling, ask if you can take a go at their bowling. And loads of them did it. They're lunatics. Well, don't do that. I mean, that's dangerous. People would be like, no, I've paid for this bowling. So they were just doing that. They went to the Odeon and asked for free popcorn. I'm assuming at some point a stranger's just going to clock one of them. But for now, we're all right. And so we keep rolling. If you want to volunteer for the kids' work, if you want to go on the kids' team, as long as you can speak in full sentences and won't cry, we will take you. And that's not true, is it, Caroline? There is a higher bar than that, I understand. This is what we will never do as a church. Like, if you go into a church that implements this, you can leave that church. That church does not deserve you. Get out of that church. You are not needed there. But it is weird. Like, I had a mate called Dan, and we were just chatting, and he was hanging. We were just at the back of church, and we had an old guy called, I was going to say called Mafia Joe. He was called Joe, but we called him Mafia Joe. And my mate Dan was sat like on the back of a chair like this. And he just sat like this. And Mafia Joe was one of these 90-year-old men who thought he was funny. And so he went to push Dan jokingly so Dan went to fall back on this chair, but then the chair tipped and the whole row tipped, knocking Mafia Joe into a wooden desk, cracking his head on the desk, knocking him spark out unconscious. And we were like, oh, you've killed an old man. You've killed an old man. I mean, that's really bad. Killing an old man. It's not good. And so we were like, and then to make it worse, obviously you hear someone scream, like, call an ambulance. I was like, oh, no, I have to call an ambulance. We got an old man. He might be dead. And so we're like ringing him up, and then an ambulance comes, and he's just literally out. I mean, he's just out cold for like an hour. And they're like, oh, man, the ambulance are there. They don't want to move him, and they do stuff with him. And someone goes up to him, and my mate Dan's obviously like shaking, thinking, oh, this is terrible. And some guy who's on the church leadership team comes up and goes, Dan, you killed an old man. It's too soon. It's way too soon for that. And so like this guy did not die, thankfully. Imagine if he did. Imagine if I twisted that one. And he died. Next point, you'd be like, whoa. Get Craig back. And so no, he was fine. But then like 2 weeks later, this guy comes into church, and Dan was a bit like, didn't know what to say. Should I go up and apologize? Even though it was just obviously a complete nothing accident. And this old man, Joe, who's just an absolute legend, we're like, I don't know how to deal with this. He just comes up to Dan, and he just comes up and shakes his hand and goes, now, young man, don't hurt me this week. And we're like, yes, Joe. And it just diffused it, and they had a big hug, and it came on. And you know what, church, we are weird. But we have a bunch of people where they would never hang out, where you never get to just spend that time with people of that age and that are different to you. And we need to do that in church. We are a team because we are a family on mission. You know, we need to know what it is to be together, and we need to know what it is to kind of bring the life of Jesus to those around. And my kind of final point is that I've done this 4 times now. This is the 4th time I've done this. And like this, for the first time, I realized this week that to bring the life of Jesus to Warrington, I live in Warrington. And we're not just bringing the life of Jesus to the people who are outside of here, although we need to do that. Like what I realized as I've been doing this is, man, I need that life of Jesus coming to me over and over again. Because I am in Warrington, and I need the family, the crazy, weird family that it is, I need them to know what it is to bring that to me. And, you know, Dougal's not here, I don't think, so I'm going to talk about Dougal. Dougal is, you may not have met Dougal. Dougal's our big Scottish theologian guy, and he's incredible. He's a character like you won't have met many of before, and I love him. And he's come into our life group, and we've just been going through, like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, I have 2 life groups on a Tuesday. I have a student life group, and then we have the men's life group. And then on the Tuesday, I just felt just overwhelmed with life. You know, one of them times when you just got so many things on. And I just remember stood in the shower for about half an hour just thinking, I don't even know what to do. Like, I just got so many things. So obviously, something in your mind goes, well, I'm just going to stand here and do none of them, which is obviously like that's the worst possible thing, right? I just can't do any of them. So I'm just going to do this. 30 minutes. It feels nice. I'm in a shower. It's all right, isn't it? Let's pretend life don't happen. And then I've come out, and it seems like I'm just wrinkled. And then that's not going to help anything, is it? I'm not better prepared for life. I'm just, like, weird-skinned. And so So anyway, so we did the first life group, and it was fine. I was pretty stressed. I was pretty short-tempered. I was like, be quiet, and I was shouting at him a little bit. And we got to the second life group, and we were just talking about 1 John. And I had no plan. I hadn't organized it. I just said, we're just going to talk about 1 John, just because it seems like we're just going to read it, and we'll just talk about the Bible. It seems like a good thing, because I got nothing in me. I got no plan. I got no time to organize it. We'll just do that. And we just started sharing, and we started reading. And Dougal starts just talking about Jesus. And Dougal gets all emotional just as he starts talking about Jesus. And he starts kind of saying, he's going, man, I just find it hard to talk about Jesus because it just overwhelms me and I just love him. And I just thought, and as he did that, as he just started tearing up, just something in that life group, I was like, oh man, I need this. And it just like it comes into your soul in a way that nothing else except Sophie flipping bowls singing a song can do. And but I need Dougal. I need Sophie bringing songs. The reason that Sophie's song's powerful is because it's our voice. It comes from us. It's from a family who are bringing the life of Jesus to each other. Like community meal on Monday. I didn't want to go to the community meal. I probably share too much. I came home from work and I just laid on that bed and messaged Lynn and said, don't want to do it. Just tired. Don't want to do it. I was just like, I've got to go. And she was like, you probably need to go there, don't you? So yeah, but I want to. And so she's marrying a child. But it is what it is. And so I was there, and I didn't want to go. And so I thought, I need to help them clear up. They'll be in the meal now, so I got like 10 minutes. I turned up just to help clear down, and Roxana was like, we knew you'd be late, so we've saved you some tea. And I was like, oh, man. And now I feel terrible. I do want to be here. So I ate the tea, and I cleaned up with just Pam done washing up, and it just did me so much better than if I'd have sat at home for an hour. And I was just like, man, I just feel so much better just for going and just clearing up and hanging out with some good people. Because, we need to be a family who bring the life of Jesus to each other. Not just the world out there, but we need to know what it is to have that in here. Like, as Sophie sang today, like, you are the fountain I need to drink from. And I just thought, man, that is a story that I need again and again and again and again. And Rachel's going to give out our cards, wherever Rachel are. Rachel, if you can run out and give out these cards now. But my final story is something that I just shared with the guys when we've been working through 1 John, as I said, this last few weeks. And in 1 John 3, it says this, and we talked about what this meant. And I shared this story, and then I'm going to hand to Craig because my time's gone. And so 1 John 3, it says, see what great love the Father has lavished on us,
Lord,
that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it didn't
got some
know
good
him.
things to share with us this morning. We just
Dear
pray
friends,
your
now we're
blessing
children
on
of
him,
God,
Father. Pray
and
that
what we
you fill
will
him with
be
your
has
Holy
not yet been
Spirit,
made known. But we know that when Christ
and that you'd
appears,
enable him
we
to
should be
just
like
release all that
him,
you've
for
put
we shall see
in
him as
and
he
I
is.
pray you'd give us
And
ears
that's
to
kind of
hear
what Rich
too.
was saying as well.
In Jesus' name.
And I was sharing about
Amen.
kind of my dad, and I have this kind of slightly
Great, what a
strange
great morning
situation
so
with
far,
my dad,
eh?
because my dad's 87. And when your dad's 87, you start thinking...
Have you ever had that moment
ain't
where
got a
you've
lot of
said
time.
something
Like,
and you
start
felt really
thinking,
confident
he might
about
last
what you've
to 100,
said,
like,
and then
just to wind us
minutes
all
later,
up. Just the kind of thing. You think it's
what
been,
you've
I've
said
been, not going to be around
what
long.
you're
I'm just going to be
doing
around for another
seem to be
13
two different
years. How'd you like
things.
that?
Yeah.
And so, but like every
just
big
not
event,
really
like so if
serious.
it's Christmas or if it's the World Cup, I think I want to go and share some of that time with my dad. And a little while ago, my dad was in hospital. He was fine, but he was in there for like 3 days. And my mum was going to be away for one of the days. And I had to visit, so I went to visit him. And I was going to sit there for like 3 hours. And I was like, I'm going to talk to my dad about for 3 hours. Because like, I ring my parents every week and I'll chat to my mum about life. And then she'll put my dad on the phone and we'll chat about Grimsby Town. That's just the way it is. And so I thought, I wonder what we're going to do. And I sat there, and one of my memories of my dad is just, as a kid, just sitting and playing cards with him. And I thought, I can't remember how to play this card game called Crib that he used to teach me when I was a kid. But I just took it I just went in and I said, Dad, can we just play? I can't remember how you play it. Can we just do that? And we just sat and I was like, oh man, this is so good. And I thought, you know what? As he gets older and as kind of time maybe getting away, what I don't want to do is think, oh, this is the time I need to learn what I get from my dad and get all this wisdom. I just want to spend time with him. I just want to play cards with him. I just want to hang out with him. And as we were talking about that today, Dougal was like, maybe that's just how we should be with God. Actually, rather than we read the Bible to think, right, just teach me stuff. I need something. I need just to spend time with him. Like, he is the fountain we need to drink from for the sake of being with him. Like, so we need to know what it is to have the life of Jesus brought into ourselves, because otherwise we're no chance of taking anything out there. Like, just no chance. And so, yeah, I'm just going to pray. Those cards you've got are just a reminder that we may work for different places. We may be in different things, but we belong to a higher purpose. And he is the one that will give us that life that we need. And he's the one who just longs to sit with us and just pour love into us and have that intimacy. And that's what we want to be, a church that celebrates that and then takes that into our towns, but knows what it is to bring that to each other. Because a lot of us come into this place just needing that in our lives. And I would just encourage you, for the people that are in here with you, your friends, your husbands, your wives, your girlfriends, whatever it is, your parents, I would just encourage you, and I'm terrible at this with Lynn's, get in, know what it is to open the Bible and just read some stuff together and just pray. And just draw near to each other, because we'll need to bring that to each other's lives. And that can be in a life group, but it needs to be more. It just needs to be in our own lives, drawing each other back to him. So I'm just going to pray, and then we're going to done. So God, I just thank you that, you want to sit with us and be in relationship with us more than we want with you. And we are sorry for the times when the million imposters try and take our attention away. So God, just help us to be still, to stay near you. And Lord, just fill our souls, fill our hearts, Lord, that we might go and show you to this dying world, that we might be able to go out of these walls and really genuinely speak of you with the love that we have for you, that people would see how much we care about you just in the way that we live. Help us with all that, we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Del, band, can we get you up for one more? I'm glad you're really excited about that, mate. We've missed you going out this morning, mate. But we have gone from God's promises and healing to bleached toilet wipes, guns, drugs, and other amazing things. So we've covered a lot this morning, which has been exciting. But hey, I tell you what, why don't we just all stand and let's sign off on worship this morning. It's true what Del said, we've got to be willing to put ourselves in places and spaces that are uncomfortable, right? And challenges. But we need to go out with a joy in our hearts and, really celebrating what God does for this morning. So if you guys can lend us in one last song. Is this all we've got, yeah?
Yeah, a bit thin on the ground at the moment.
Okay, no, Sophie's coming. Sophie's coming to rescue you. You're all right.
Alone in the darkest drink from, because you are the fountain I need to drink from. I'm staying strong, shaking off these trials. I'm going deeper in your love, deeper in your love. I'm staying strong, shaking off these trials. I'm going deeper in your love, deeper in your love. I'm staying strong, I'm staying strong, shaking off these trials. I'm going deeper in your love, deeper in your love. I'm staying strong, shaking off these trials. I'm going deeper in your love, deeper in your love. Your peace washes over. I know I'm never alone in the darkest places. Your love shines on, even when I don't understand why. I hold on because you are the fountain I need to drink from. Your peace washes over. I know I'm never alone in the darkest places. Your love shines on, even when I don't understand why. I hold on because you are the fountain I need to drink from, because you are the fountain I need to drink from, because you are the fountain I need to drink from.
Brilliant. Okay, so just stay standing for a minute. We're going to sign off with another one of God's promises, and then if we can just leave the hall for set down, go and grab a coffee, speak to someone you don't know, that would be amazing. And next week, we're welcoming you back next week. Caroline's going to be starting a new series on hidden characters in the Bible, so we're excited about that. But for now, Adi, come and share a promise, mate.
Yeah, so this is for you, right? Each one of you. From Psalm 103. Praise the Lord, my soul, all my inmost being, praise his holy name. Praise the Lord, my soul, and don't forget his benefits, who forgives all of your sins and heals all of your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit and crowns you with love and compassion. I want to encourage you to stand on that this morning. If you prayed for healing or breakthrough earlier, that's for you. That's for you. You can't buy it. So valuable. It's yours already. Have a good week.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, guys. Be blessed. Have a great week. And go and enjoy a coffee and have some fellowship.